right now. And just to pick up from where actually we had Mary Mukindia saying that faith is personal. And we're hearing also Pastor Julian saying faith is a doing thing, right? Faith is action. So how do we correlate, personal faith and the doing faith? How do you correlate that? Because now if I go to do I just keep silent with my faith? It's only me that, I'm known to be a Christian, just to me, myself. My co-worker does not know what I actually espouse as a Christian or as a Muslim, right?
I think that the two are the same.
The two are the same.
Yeah, because, I love what, Pastor Julian Kula said, and I truly believe that it's like I always say to my children, love is a verb, it's not a noun. It's a doing thing. You can't keep saying, I love you or whatever, I respect you, and you don't do it. So when I say that religion is personal, and I think I mentioned that we need to see your Christianity, your values in the way that you live, in the way that you work with excellence. Remember Paul talking about you shall not eat if you do not work. So we need to do things excellently. And excellence is with ethics, with right, with justice. You work hard. Then someone says, that person works very hard. What is it about them? I want to know more about them. How come they're here on time, they work early, they work hard? And then you find out, oh, they're a Christian. They're an example. I think sometimes many of us, and I love what Obama said the other day about all this activism, Twitter hashtag activism. I see that sometimes in what we call religiosity. People go to church, people say amen, up to the Lord, quoting Bible verses, but when what they're doing is nothing similar to what you're doing. I'd rather somebody who's acting and doing their faith as opposed to somebody who's preaching me 24/7, has got all the right verses. Every time, God willing, every time they interject with verses and they speak, my brother, my sister, but they're not doing. So for me, the doing, as Pastor Julian said, is far important, and therefore it becomes very personal, because then you're an example to others. So I'm not sure that the two need to be pulled together, because I think they're the same thing.
They're the same thing?
Yeah.
All right. I saw Reverend Jenga also straining at the list to say something.
Our undoing in this country is trying to separate what we believe and what we do, and I think that is the consensus. It's got to be so much part of me that wherever you put me, it will happen. But now I think we have a serious problem when we are on Sunday looking fairly holy, and then on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and the rest of the week, we are in cahoots with the devil and doing everything that is wrong. We've got to move from there. And therefore, let this thing be me. I said earlier that faith is personal. That's where it begins. Faith without works is dead. After that personal encounter, then make it work. And wherever you might be. Yeah.
Right. If we peg our discussions around also what Mary was saying, that it can be, an organization can be faith-based, it can be faith-tolerant, it can be faith-friendly, right?
Or faith-avoiding, where they say no
faith-avoiding
discussion.
at all. And you've alluded to the fact that while organizations also, they may come up with their systems, but we're not supposed to be sucked into this particular systems as well. We should, just be firm on our ground and stick to our faith as well. So how do you also, in those particular talking points, peg your thoughts or the faith-based, faith-tolerant, faith-avoiding?
If we say that this thing will happen wherever I might be, then it really doesn't matter what organization I work in. What we forget is there is a price to pay for anything I want to do, and I must be willing to pay the price. I think we are making a mistake, and a serious mistake as a nation, to want to copy those who have moved away from religion or Christianity. We are making a serious mistake, because we need to look back and see how far they've gone in the wrong direction. But that at the personal level, I think the organization ought to accept that there is a God in heaven.
Yes.
And no matter what they think or they don't think, that's a fact. And it doesn't become not simply because they say it shouldn't happen. I think there is a God in heaven and who reigns and governs the affairs of men. However, at the personal level, wherever I may be, There was a debate in my earlier years whether somebody should work for breweries or someone should work for an insurance company. You know, in this country,
What's
they
wrong with
believe that
insurance?
all insurance people are thieves.
No,
I have been
I
there.
sit on the board of one, and they're excellent.
I have
They
been there for
promote
27 years.
Yes.
So I am with you.
Thank you.
But people get very worried about me. How can a reverend be in insurance? And those are two roads leading, one leading east and the other west. But that's not the point. How would they know, those people in breweries? We think that there is a problem with drinking. How will those people know? There will have to be a believer in there who works very well, is excellent in their work, and take every available opportunity to demonstrate the life of faith.
Right. This is where
in brewery, is there a price to pay? Of course there is a price to pay. And that's what we are not willing to do.
All right, and that is where Dr. Hassan Kinyo will actually be in a pickle a bit with your statement, because, of course, he cannot really work in a brewery, a farm, or enemy, or the farmer's choice maybe that are slaughtering pigs as well, because they consider this to be haram.
That's very true. Divine, thank you so much actually for calling me here and meeting these brilliant minds of this country. And especially, I'm so delighted to see the interfaith knowledge, especially in Pastor Chula's speech. But what I'm trying to say is that, picking from what is my brother is saying, for example, you find in Islam, as I began saying, there are Muslims who will not take some jobs because of misinterpretation of religion. Misinterpretation. Okay. There are jobs, yes, there are jobs which it's totally haram. You cannot deal with them, especially alcohol. That one you can't. A Muslim should never work in any alcohol industry. And if they are doing, they are sinning. You remember we were talking about work as worship. So for them now, every day they go out, they're going to sin or prostitution and other things. But in insurance, law and the rest, Muslims should work in them. And you see many Muslims have always told people in the mosque that Muslims should not be lawyers. Oh. But unfortunately, Muslim lawyers don't come out and talk to children and tell them, no, we are Muslims and we are lawyers and we are practicing well. That's what they should go out doing. And because of this problem, that's why myself, currently, I'm taking law. Because I should be telling them, yes, I've gone to the ladder and become a doctor in a religion, and now I'm taking law. So take law. So what I'm trying to say is that insurance, law, all those fields, one should work in them. I also mentioned the issue of beard. It's a big issue in Islam. You know, Muslims sometimes don't understand the issues in religion. Sunnah is something, if you do, you get reward. If you don't do, you get nothing. So if you get a job, an appointment in a company, and then when you go there, they tell you, but you have beard, please trim the beard. You should trim them. As a Muslim, trim the beard because it is sunnah. Now, this is worship, working is worship, military, but then so beard is sunnah. Trim the beard so that you work. So what I'm trying to say is that we should guide our youth to the best way. Now coming to my sister, Mary, she talked about the issue of religion being private. The issue of
being personal.
Being personal.
Yes.
The problem of making my religion very personal, my sister, is that if I don't tell you I'm a Muslim, or if I don't have Muslim identity, I can come to you, you invite me for breakfast or dinner, and then you just put for me beer here, pork and the rest. Because I had not told you I'm a Muslim. You wanted me maybe to act, and you know I cannot act before we meet. You are supposed to know that I'm a Muslim. I don't take alcohol, so it should not be in my table. I don't take pork, so it should not be there. Because you might offend someone without knowledge. That's why when you talk of, this issue of religious identity and religious practice, the religious practice can be personal, but the identity should be clear to you that this person is in this faith, so there are things they cannot do. And we have seen it actually in physical life, where, for example, you remember Obama. He went somewhere, he wanted to greet a Muslim woman. She didn't agree. And Obama understands it, so he didn't get offended. But we have seen some people who have become very offended by people not shaking hands because it's part of religion. So what I'm trying to say, sometimes both statements are right, but identity should always be there to be seen so that no one gets offended because of ignorance of the other party.
I think if I could just respond to to that. No, you're absolutely right. And I think that for me to say there's no contradiction. Religion is personal and must always start, your faith must be personal and start personal. And there is no issue in saying who you are. By your dress, by your speaking, whenever I go somewhere, I will bring it up and say who I am. But I think what we were talking about is that when you're in the first workplace, your first responsibility to be there is to work. You do identify who I am. I'm a mother, I'm a this, I'm a this. Those are all part of your identity. I'm a daughter, what I believe. So there is no contradiction. I think and perhaps we should also discuss it, and it gives me problems sometimes, is also what is our responsibility? There are some who think clearly our responsibility is to proclaim the gospel. So wherever you are, yes, you've gone to work, but you have a responsibility to proclaim the good news. You have a responsibility to influence. And that's where a number of us sometimes will struggle personally. Is it my responsibility to proclaim the good news, even where I am? And how do I do it? I should be converting people. I should be actively, because that's what I've been charged to do. Am I comfortable doing that? And I'll say it personally, am I comfortable that, I go somewhere, but also part of my responsibility as a person of faith is to tell everybody the good news and get them to the right side, because, you need to be. We don't know when the Lord will come. Some people take it very personally, and they will do that. I had somebody in my family who was fired from their job because that was such a big tenet of their faith, and they were teaching, but they were also proclaiming the Bible. So the students complained, and they said, this man, we don't learn. Half the time he is converting us. But we do have a responsibility. How far does that go in the workplace?
Yes.
Some of those are the subtle issues, and you say, no, then are you being a true Christian if you're not converting and professing the faith to everybody? But then I also remember we're all called to be different things. Some to be administrators, some to be businessmen, some to be evangelists. I personally sometimes struggle. Yes, I will say who I am, but am I trying to convince you to come to the right side? That's my responsibility, or how much is it? And we worry sometimes as Christians, are we doing our full role, or am I hiding my God? Do you see what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Are you hiding your God? You say work is communion with God, Shujaha. You could just also maybe expound on that more in light of what also Merish is saying.
Yeah, I'll agree with my sister.
Yes.
But you see, nowadays they are separating the subjects as spiritual and secular. Ancient days, our gurus, they taught the secular and spiritual, they are not separate, they are together. So, in whatever we work in our workplace, it is whatever we learned in our childhood. That knowledge is divine and sacred. So we don't separate that, we always, it is there. So in the workplace, we don't show it is like a sacred and divine. So we don't have that problem of working. It is there, everything it is there in the mind. So we don't separate. This is faith and this is the knowledge. So everything is together in the workplace we do.
All right. Let's hear from Alan Kuda, because you raised the point of the problem with Kenya also is opportunity. And if there is an opportunity in, let's say, a brewing company, and in an economy where there is corruption and job avoidance, and you're also maybe a firm believer in the Muslim community, or you're Muslim for that matter, and there is an opportunity in a country where there are lack of opportunity, how will you struggle with that? You have children at home, they have to eat. So the job is there, but your faith also is a deterrent.
Yeah, I think there has to be wisdom, and coming to Mary's point around, should I go evangelizing in the workplace and being very intrusive? When I go to work, there are some laid out rules for my workplace. I must, as a Christian, and I believe also as a Muslim, I believe also as a Hindu, I must understand that I should not use my Christianity to infringe on another person's rights. I must be careful. There are what we call essentials and non-essentials. For instance, if I'm being forced to eat a particular food in a school that is against my faith, that's an essential. I should not be forced to do that. But if there are options of food, then I can choose which one to eat. So you must understand through your space
Yes.
What's an essential, what's a non-essential? Jesus told us to be wise as serpents. I was studying the serpent. I wondered why he used, of all animals available on earth, the serpent. They say in the village, literally almost every house has a snake. You just don't know where it is. That's
really?
Yes, they say there's science that says that almost every house has a snake. You just don't know where it's hiding. And that means it has learned to be in a particular position without necessarily revealing itself. It is eating, it is probably breeding, it's hiding. The only time you will encounter that snake is when you finally get in its way and it gets in your way. The point Jesus was making is that it is not necessary for us to be loud everywhere. If I go to India, Paul tells us in the Bible that when you go to a place, pay tribute where tribute is due, honor where honor is due, and custom where custom is due. I must honor the Hindu culture. Even though I desire to evangelize to them to become Christians, I must go and first learn of their culture. You win people faster and easier by honoring and learning about their way of life, not by being on their faces all the time. But those are, when it comes to whether I can work at Kenya breweries, whether I can work at a place that may be compromising, I must, as a person, look at my faith and understand my situation. Case in point, I have a very close friend who got a job at Kenya breweries, was very conflicted, did not want to go as a Christian. And we sat down and talked. And they went and actually helped the group design and bring into place a drink that was not alcoholic. So what they started to do is to counter what they make by saying, what if you can end up making juice? What if you can end up making non-alcoholic beverages? What if you can make malt that is non-alcoholic? They started countering, and their products started growing and becoming a good percentage of what is selling. I think you can counter a place. However, there was another one who said, I'm not comfortable, and I advised them, then do not go if it is really eating you up. So I think there are scenarios that we have to appreciate that require thought, process, and just some bit of wisdom to really understand. But I do believe that there are what you call essentials and non-essentials. If I go to a workplace and there are essential matters conflicting with my faith, I must make a decision that this I will not do. For instance, if I'm employed in a massage parlor that is doing more than massaging, I can make a decision that this I'm not doing. I can make a decision that in this place, everything is counter what I believe. We're actually stealing from people. We're making phone calls to people to tell them that they're going to get this investment back. And I can sit and see that everything in here, I cannot sit there and say that I can steal and feed my children from money that has come from theft. Then your conscience is not in line with your faith. They are what you call essentials, then they are non-essentials.
All right. What if you're caught up maybe in a system where things change along the way, regulations, law, they change along, or things as a society is changing? We've had cases in points, maybe from the US as well. You are a Christian, or maybe you're a lawyer and you're working for a certain firm, and there has to be, what is happening and getting traction with the gayism and the gay parades as well, that you have to register a gay couple, but it's conflicting, and we've seen this also headed to the courts as well. How then do you handle that? Because the legal regime of the day is changing to suit also the whims of the society as well. And you are a Christian, or you are a Muslim.
I said earlier that there is a price for everything, and I believe one of the biggest problems is we are not willing to pay the price. What makes me think that everything will be open for me, or it will be comfortable for me? I have to make choices, and that's part of life, that I must be willing to say, if this doesn't agree with me, I'll pay the price. Most of us are not willing to pay the price. Let me address something else which I think is important. Religion has joined what I call criminal enterprise in this country, and I believe that is one of the biggest problems. We can sit here and debate, but out there, what do people see? Do they see religion that is pure and looking after people, or do they see most of us out there, some of us anyway, who are enriching themselves through religion. That is our biggest problem, because they preach one thing on Sunday and whatever other day they preach, and on Monday and the rest of the week, they're basically criminals. They're stealing from Kenyans. And I think we need to counter that. Somebody said ideology, countering with another ideology. We've got to move away from this easy way of life, which has become religion, that if I fail in anything and everything else, I can go to religion and become rich overnight. We've seen those, and they're destroying religion more than anything else that we can have or say.
Yes.
And that's why I believe they should be taxed. I've said this before,
yes.
Reverend. I truly, firmly believe we should be taxing all faiths.
And jailed.
Yes, absolutely.
Can I say?
Yes.
We are taxed as churches. I welcome anyone to check our audited accounts as a church. There is a tax element. The only thing a church is not taxed with, as it sits under the Societies Act, is what you call the income from the Sunday giving, which is donations. But whatever else you choose to do with that money, whether it is to pay salaries,
Absolutely.
whether it is to pay for different things that need to be bought, buildings,
VAT, etc.
VAT. You can apply for VAT exemptions if you're building a children's home. There's certain donations you as a church may choose to support or make, sponsoring people in school, doing good for the community. The tax man is actually very clear about where that sits.
It's the income that I believe the donation should be taxed at corporation tax, and there should be accounts for every church to produce. Your church produces accounts, my church produces accounts,
Yes.
but hundreds do not produce accounts. If they're audited and they're taxed at 30%, they will need to produce their accounts.
But
that's
that
a
is
different
falling under a
digress.
very different tax regime altogether. Yeah, so to speak.
Which
from
one?
The one that he's saying from the donations and all.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's income.
Yeah.
It's income. It may be donations from them, but it's income to the community, which buys planes and houses and lifestyles, as Reverend is saying. For many, I mean, I know the Reverend's, Pastor Kila's church, I've been a speaker, it's tremendous what they're doing, but many do not follow such.
All right, let's see from Dr. Hassan Kinyua.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
My brother, this debate on what my brothers have opened, I cannot open it myself. Because many of the courses I teach at the university, even in fact from here I'll be going to teach comparative religion. One of the things we teach our students is Karl Marx statement, religion is opium of the masses. This statement has its own positive side and negative side. But when you look at the society we are living in today, that statement should be used by everyone. I keep on telling my students at the university, you are suffering paying school fees. But when you go to prayer place on Sunday, Friday, Saturday, someone comes up with a song. Toa ndugu, toa dada, toa ndugu, toa dada. Now you see people have already contributed, then the song comes, then someone tells you, kila ulichonacho, Bwana anakuona, baka moyo ni wako. So you give even the bus fare you have, then you walk home, then the person leaves the prayer place with a chopper. Right. And when you look at that person up, you say that is man of God. He's not man of God.
Right.
He's a thief.
Absolutely.
According to me, that's a thief. So we have told our students, when you go to prayer places, contribute what you can. But we are happy with some religions in this country. They have organization. Because your money, you see what it does. Money is contributed. You see the religion building a university, building a school, building a hospital, building. So these religions, we want to see that yes, money is coming in, but you see it coming back to the society. So I think that is my prayer to all churches in this Kenya. Yes, let them get contributions, millions, billions, but let's see that money transforming the communities they are living in. You cannot afford to be a man of God, going to preach to people in Mathare and Kibera, driving a V8, and you leave these people in that condition. We must start changing the lives of those people positively. Yes.
Pastor Kilo, you say that the work organization system must not infringe in your faith, right? So what if now in this world of mergers and acquisitions that I'm working for this particular company and we merged with another company that, they believe the structure, the system is diametrically different from what I do, espouse as a Christian, as a Muslim, as a Hindu. How then do I handle this situation?
you vote with your feet. But, you know, this whole understanding of that, what I call a separation of values, when you now infringe on my right, like now let's cheat, now let's bribe, now this is our culture we've brought into your company, you must make a decision. Now, let's be clear. You have a tough choice. Daniel worked for Nebuchadnezzar. There was a lot going on in Babylon. I imagine there was stealing, there was, you know, different culture, because it wasn't his culture. But he used his culture to influence. So you must also weigh that, is this my assignment? Is this my call? Am I going to make a change here? If so, and I've been graced for it, then I go ahead and stay to make the change I need to be. But if it becomes over infringing to me and my faith, what happened in that same chapter? You have Nebuchadnezzar asking people to bow to him. Same place. Now you say, now this is an essential matter. I can't bow to anybody but God. So he says, if you don't bow to me, I will burn you alive. And they say, no problem. Let's tell you that God will come through for us. But even if he doesn't, then we choose to die rather than to compromise our belief. Where were they? In Babylon. You can make statements and put your foot down on the thing that you believe is a compromise. We've seen that through great men that have walked through the earth. Martin Luther, Mahatma Gandhi. We've seen men and women of God walk through this earth that have been in positions that could have brought compromise. But they said, no, I choose that this thing, I'd rather die. And you know, there's no sacrifice when there's no death. If it is a matter of life and death, you must reach a point and say, I'd rather die than bow down to a false god or to another god than the one I believe in. Then you make your stand there, but you must be graced for it and not get yourself into careless trouble.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's say from Shujasa, listening to Christians, Muslims, or also listening to you, what can we share that, of course, we are having this issue of, you know, essentials, non-essentials, and also charity in all things. What can we share and learn from maybe Christianity is admiring from the Hindu community or the Muslim community is admiring from Christianity, and you find these practices maybe we can share. They might be having the essentials within the religion itself, but they are non-essentials that we can pick from, you know, each other and maybe also enhance our faiths. I do not know what you learn from Christianity or Muslim, or what also Christians are learning from Muslims as well.
You know, I am also a member of InterReligious Council of Kenya,
Yes, yes.
where we work with all the religions. You know, we'll start our meeting with maybe with a Muslim prayer, and the food prayer with the Christianity, even the ending prayer with the Hinduism. So where, you know, I think in the work environment, you have to be liked and needed. You feel I need here. People are liked me. And
Yes.
with that environment, you know, we can work freely, happily, and the if you see the productivity, it's, I think people will agree with that one. It will increases.
Right.
You know, if we are happy with the, you know, in the InterReligious Council, we organize so many programs, so many meetings, but we don't see that she is a Christian, he is a Muslim. We are well happy, and even today's meeting from our discussions, we know we are all agreeing with one point.
Right. Let's say from Reverend Njenga, briefly, also we should be preparing our headline thoughts as well as we're preparing to wind up.
I think my personal conviction is that there is a God in heaven who guides and controls. And as I make my choice, I also need to be aware that God is leading me somewhere to do something. And he leads me in paths of righteousness for his own sake. I am his project. I am God's project, and he will lead me sometimes to make very tough choices, but I must be willing to be there to make those tough choices. So wherever he is leading me, first I need to clear that with him, that this is where he's leading me. Because we said faith is personal, that I have to have a personal conviction. And then I must be willing to pay the price. Once I clear with him that this is not right, I cannot get involved in this. But I also tell people not to get too worried too much about what they don't know. I think sometimes we spend a lot of time in debates about what we don't know, what could possibly happen, what the future portends. and we fail to do what we know today. So let's get to do what we know and follow.
Right.
God does not show us all the way, but he promises to guide me moment by moment, day by day. He also promises protection.
Yeah, but what are you learning from, Muslim and the Hindu community that you feel, oh, I like this about the Muslim brothers or
Yes.
Muslim sisters and also the Hindu community?
That religion is about doing good,
It's about
and
doing good.
that we must not move away from. I am not aware of any religion, true religion, that is not doing good. And I think we should embrace each other and do good.
Right. Dr. Hassan Kenya.
What I would like Muslims to embrace from Christians, especially the Catholic, because I teach for them at Tangaza University College, is organization.
Organization.
These people are very organized. What I would like Muslims to learn from the Anglican, they are very organized. They have a structure.
That's me.
You see, they have a structure. Catholics have a pope all over the world who is their leader. Then they have the archbishops, they have bishops, they have deacons, they have that structure. In Islam, we don't have that, unfortunately. We are highly suffering because of lack of leadership. And that's why my doctorate was in Islamic leadership in Kenya. You go to Hindus also, we can learn from them. Hindus have a system, and I know she'll confirm. In fact, she doesn't confirm. What you're telling her is that Hindus know each and every person amongst them. They come to one of them who is poor this year. They give the person like 1 million, for example, and they tell him, we want you next year also to be among the club which will be contributing to others. So they are building. We are not saying that we should all be materialistic in this world, but you see, you cannot purport to live this world. You know, there are people who lie to others. Happy are the poor, for they will see the kingdom of God. But when you go outside, the cars they are driving, my friend, they can feed 100 families. So they are lying to people. When we are talking happy are the poor, what we are trying to say is that have wealth, but the wealth should not control you. You should use it to help others. So
Thank you.
from Christians, Muslims should learn organization. Let us start having a leadership which is the best. From Hindus, let us have that communal assistance amongst ourselves.
Right, thank you. Mary Mukindia, what should we learn also from the Hindu community? You agree with also the thoughts that are being advanced here?
I think I think there are things we could, but I'm not clear because, here is because there are few in number. So we see them really coordinating. But I think in India,
Yes.
obviously, it's a huge problem. I mean, they have a huge population. So I think because there are fewer here, it's very much easier than to coordinate themselves and to help one another, which is always good, and I like that. But I think their tolerance, they have a high, that is something I admire, that they have tolerance, they have a very long-term view, and how I think Pastor Kiwa was saying, seeing the person first and learning, they have a high degree of tolerance and acceptance, of others that perhaps, us could live. I think for the Muslim, what I see is that they live, for the most part, those that I know, they appear to live their life, as the Sheikh said, they live their life every day. For us, it's a very personal relationship with God, and it's a very close relationship with God, which I think is what is unique for us.
Thank
that
you.
I am a daughter, I'm a child of God, and it's personal with me, and I feel Him in my life every day. For them, I sometimes I wish we could have a bit of theirs in that you live your life as well.
Thank you.
The religion is part of life. That, I think, is something, if we would do it, and the old-time religions used to do it, Catholics tend to do it, that would be something that would advance us.
Pastor Julian Kulia.
I think from understanding other perspectives and other lives, and I love the way Mary has put it, in that there's something called a minority aspect. When you're few in a nation, you actually take care of yourselves better because you never know the dangers that fall. And so what I've seen as I've gone to India and I've looked at, Hinduism in other nations, Mary has hit on the head, tolerance, the ability to look at another human being and appreciate them and understand their journey and also listen. They have an amazing element of patience about them. They are never in a hurry. They can take 3 days to get to know you as you drink tea. From Muslim is that I have the admiration for them in that I think they are first Muslim before they are anything else. So if I see a cabinet secretary who is Muslim at the airport, I'll see them in prayer as they wait for that plane they're waiting for to land. That is what you're talking about, Mary, in that the expression of their faith is not hidden, in that they are not ashamed of their faith. Sometimes as Christians, the challenge I'd give us, even when you see us praying for lunch, we have to look who is around before we bow our head and pray a 10-second prayer and quickly open our eyes. So the challenge is, I think we need to be, not that, I think we could be a bit more expressive in our daily walk regarding our Christianity.
Right, thank you. Also, there's something coming up about the art festival.
Yes.
Maybe my director maybe just put it up. Restore, rebuild, revive.
Yeah.
And this is Kingdom 2040.
Yes.
Kingdom 2040 agenda. And you say it will deal with 3 key themes in every sphere. How
Yes.
to restore, rebuild, revive the spheres, the mountains. Is a resounding narrative and theme.
Yes. So,
Tell us more
next,
about this.
so next week, the whole week, from Monday all through Saturday, we'll be at the Sarit Center, the new Expo Center. We want to deal with something in our generation. There's something that's been in my heart, which is that I think we have about a 20-year window, a 20-year window for influence. You know, there's a way you look at how much energy you're going to have at the age of 70 or 80
Yes, yes.
and realize that you have to use your youthfully as well. We're gathering as a generation to talk about key fundamentals. The book of Nehemiah chapter 2 verse 17 to 18 says, Nehemiah goes to repair this wall of Jerusalem and he finds it in ruins, goes, does an inspection, comes back, tells the people, hey, come look what this place looks like. These gates are burnt with fire. The walls are burnt. We have a problem. Then he gives a rallying call. Come, let us rebuild the walls of Jerusalem so that we may no longer be a reproach. Let's rebuild the walls of Kenya, of Uganda, of Africa, so that people stop coming here and taking advantage of our mines, of our gold, of our resources. We need to get organized. And therefore, this is a rallying call. So we have to do the 3 R's, which is to restore, rebuild, and revive. Restore, rebuild, and revive. That's why it's called the R Conference. So we're going to gather. We have questions. So the first 3 days, we'll do some church. Allow us to do some church. And then from Thursday, we engage now. We're bringing people from every sphere. There are 7 spheres for us as Christians. You have church, which is religion. So you have religion, you have economics, you have arts and entertainment, you have, I don't think I'll remember all of them offhand. You have politics, right? So we're going to deal with every one of them. We're dealing with health.
Yes.
We want to ask, what will health look like in 20 years from now? We want to bring the professionals, the Kenya Medical Association chair lady. We want to bring doctors and ask, why are people going into a hospital to be operated on and lose the wrong part that they went in for? Why are we having such technical issues in very high-end hospitals? What's going on? But give me a second, Deba. So we want to deal with politics. We've invited some politicians on Friday. We as a generation want to ask them, what are you people doing with our country? We don't want to hear good speeches. We want to sit and ask tough questions and engage and say, we want to know that we have 20 years of a plan, that we can start accepting a certain value system. Can you, in the medical, in the business, accept that we will work with these values for the next 20 years?
Thank you.
Be honest, integrous, and deliver. That's what we're doing from next week.
Right, thank you. Thank you. I think we wind it up at that particular point. I'm being just out of studio right now. But I really do appreciate it. It's been such an engaging discussion, eye-opener as it is. And we agree in essentials, unity, in non-essentials, liberty, in all things, charity. This is what also St. Augustine said. And of course, we cannot disagree on so many things that we know that we deem them to be essential to us. And of course, we should have liberty in non-essentials and charity in all things as well. Thank you for your valued company. You've been watching Leadership Forum here on AM Live. Thank you.